Hello. Hello, 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 hello. I just walked up so many flights of stairs. I'm literally out of breath. But you can't tell, right? Are you there, Matt? Or you ain't there?
Oh, it helps if I don't mute myself mid-sentence. Yes, I'm here.
Okay, good.
I was just reading up on a rumor that Bitcoin is correcting.
What is your opinion on that?
I don't know. I'll leave that to the discussion in a minute.
Should I invite our guest up to the stage yet? Or he already?
It's only polite, right?
Yeah, of course. Hello, Andy.
Hello.
Hello, your friend, my friend, our friend, Andy, right?
Everyone's friend, Andy. Yes. Hello. Thanks for having me.
How you doing?
Great. Everything is all good in the hood. How are y'all doing today?
All fine. By the way, we're just gonna wait a couple more minutes for a couple more people to come in. So this is just the pre-talk where we just catch up with you. So you don't have to have your guard up now.
Very good.
So how late is it for you right now?
It's 4 p.m. for me.
Oh, that's perfect. That's a perfect time. For me, it's 11 p.m. right now. So
Where are you located?
Austria, in Europe.
Yep.
So that's a usual Q&A time. So I have to get used to it. So, or I already got used to it. So I can't complain.
Shall we get started in a minute?
Perfect. Yeah, let's get it going. And as per usual, people will be trickling in. So, thank you all for coming today. Welcome to The Pillars. We are a community-led space aimed at supporting protocols and educating our investors through intelligent, meaningful conversation. Here we ask the tough questions you all want answered. Now, let me introduce to you our today's guest. I mean, the audience probably already knows you. He joined YouTube mid 2020, so just a bit more than 3 years ago now. And with close to 200 videos under his belt, he has managed to gain a following just shy of 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, which means he will be getting the silver YouTube play button. I hope very, very shortly, very, very soon. He is covering passive income. He is covering under that belt, like how you can earn money through AI, how you can earn money in crypto, how you can, I mean, the world is open. So basically everything related to passive income, you get from our guest today. As I already said, he's our friend. He's my friend. He is your friend, Andy. Thank you very much, Andy, for coming today. I'm just the guy doing the introduction, so I'm going to pass on the microphone to Matt Hatter. If anyone has any questions, the stage question channel is open. Just shoot the questions. Matt Hatter is going to ask it for you, and I hope everyone enjoys. Take care.
My first and immediate thought is that joke about you being everybody's friend must get very old for you.
I mean, I definitely hear it a lot, but at this point, I'm used to it. I like it. I went with the name, so I chose this fate, so to speak.
That's fair enough. Andy, thank you so much for coming in. I'm really looking forward to this conversation. I have to say, when I first got into crypto, it was your. I mean, I was in crypto before 2020, but when I started to kind of really dabble, especially in the space that we're in now, your content was some of the content that I was heavily consuming. And I do dip in and out every now and again to see what you're up to and what you're covering. So I'm looking forward to this chat. And yeah, thank you for coming in.
Well, yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks for watching some of the videos. I appreciate it. It's been a fun ride.
So about the ride, I'm really interested to hear perhaps a bit of a backstory of what you were doing before you even got into crypto. I know I've heard you speak on being serious about crypto in 2017. What kind of got you to transition into this world?
Yeah, so I mean, my first exposure to crypto was Bitcoin back in 2012, 2013, and I just missed it. I thought it sounded kind of dumb that you could make coins out of nothing and they were worth something. So that was a big mistake. And then my second bit of exposure was in 2014 when I dabbled again. I built a Litecoin mining rig in a milk crate with some old ATI Radeon cards and did that whole thing. And I was working a startup job and I was exhausted all the time. And so coming home and it would always be crashing this or that. So I kind of gave up on that early and sold everything for a little bit of a loss and just forgot about it. And then it all exploded again and I kind of regretted that. So I just told myself, well, this stuff is still here. People are still talking about it. People are still buying it. There must be something here. And also, that Litecoin thing, I could have been mining 8 to 10 or 20 of per week is now worth, $400+ per coin. So maybe I should have kept doing that. So I kind of told myself never again. I wasn't going to make those mistakes again. And I dove in head first and just started researching it all and figuring it all out. And I kind of assumed that I would either decide, yeah, it's a bunch of, it's a big scam, it's not worth my time. Or like my gut was kind of telling me there's something here, maybe I should, dedicate more of my time to learning about it. And that's what happened. So 2017, dug in pretty deep, then experienced that fun bull run at the end of 2017 for Bitcoin, and then the crazy kind of bull run at the end of 2017 into the first 2 months of 2018 for all the altcoins. Experienced the euphoria and the excitement, and then the sinking feeling as it all crashed back down to earth. But whereas most people gave up and said, obviously this is a big scam, this is not for me, I'm out. I spent all of 2018, 2019, and 2020 investing as much money as I could, learning as much as I could, mining as much as I could, and then I came out pretty happily on the other side in 2021 and 2022, and now we're repeating the process all over again.
Right. So you turned FOMO into an internal drive to kind of get better at it and succeed, which is interesting.
Yeah, FOMO is really, really bad if you let it control your emotions and you choose the wrong times to give into it. But I think it can be useful if you do it for the right reasons and you have a good control over your emotions and stuff like that.
Were you full-time working at the time that you were doing all of this? And at what point did you take that? Because, I've heard you speak on being kind of an anti-9 to 5er. You don't believe that we all have to fit in that kind of rat race and be running in that wheel. When did you kind of decide you were going to take that leap of, this is what I want to do full-time, I no longer want to have a traditional 9 to 5 job?
Yeah, I mean, I've been kind of entrepreneurial minded since I was in elementary school. I started my first business at the end of elementary school and my second one in junior high. But somewhere along the way, I kind of got convinced that I had to, just get good grades, go to college, get a normal job, do the normal life kind of thing. And I tried it for a while, did the college thing, did several 9 to 5 jobs, and it just wasn't my thing. I don't like being told what to do. I don't like not having control of my time. I don't like having to ask permission to take off for vacation. I don't like building other people's dreams or building towards other people's goals. I want to do my own thing. So it was in the my last job, which was at a startup, software startup, and I was building another business on the side. During my lunch break, I'd go into the unfinished part of the building on the other side, an unfinished conference room, and sit on the floor, eat my lunch, and get on the phone with potential clients trying to book try to book some business and get the business off the ground. Eventually, the business overtook the job, and I was able to say, "Okay, see you later." And then I did that for about a decade, that business, and 3 years ago started this YouTube channel, which is actually my second YouTube channel, and it started taking off. And then towards the end of last year, I said goodbye to my small business, and I went full time with this whole YouTube online content creation thing. But it just, I don't know, it's something that's been in me for a long time. I'm not really anti 9 to 5. 9 to 5s can be great for a lot of people if you can use them instead of being used by them. If you enjoy them, or you have a good situation, it's flexible, whatever. But I find that a lot of people don't really give much thought, and so I hope that when I talk about things that are kind of anti 9 to 5, that they will maybe give it a second thought and go, oh, if it's a good fit for me, maybe there's alternatives out there, alternative ways to live.
Yeah, it's a good observation that a 9 to 5 for a lot of people can work, and it suits their personality types. But as you're explaining, your personality type is such that it wasn't for you. How much do you lean on? I mean, it's a very transparent question, and I can imagine what the answer is going to be. But how much has your entrepreneurial background influenced how you've approached, in particular, creating such a successful YouTube channel?
Well, yeah, I mean, I definitely appreciate that, and I am grateful for where my channel is. I do recognize that in the world of YouTube, the amount of channels that ever get 1,000 subscribers, much less 10,000, or closing in 100,000, is a very tiny percentage. But it's still, when I look at my channel compared to so many other channels out there, I'm like, wow, okay, I've just gotten started. There's still a lot of road to cover. But yeah, I mean, all that stuff is definitely informed. I mean, from day one, I've kind of treated the YouTube channel like a business. I think a lot of people just make videos and they don't have much rhyme or reason to why they're making them. I've been pretty conscious about how I make the videos and what topics I choose. And I'm also, with kind of a business mindset, every video is a new opportunity to kind of iterate. I'm a big believer in that. If whatever you're working on, if you look back a year or two and you don't kind of cringe at what you made or the work you did, then you're doing something wrong. Like, I look back at my early videos and I'm like, oof, those are the worst videos in the world. And what I'm doing today is so much better. And I hope that in another couple of years, I'll look back on these today. I'm like, oh my gosh, what was I thinking? I should have been doing this or that. So the goal is, like, every time I make one, I iterate and try to make it better. And oftentimes I regress and I don't get it right and I fail and fail experiments and stuff. But hopefully it's a net positive over the long term, which is kind of my viewpoint on a lot of things, investing in YouTube otherwise. But what is the long tail? What does the long term look like?
Your videos, they take an interesting angle. They're very clever in the way that they're set up, from what I'm viewing at the very least. How many different paths did you kind of experiment with, perhaps, or think about going down before you decided, actually, this is the format that I perhaps most enjoy, or it's going to be most beneficial to the people that are watching, or maybe a mixture of both that was going to be the greatest asset to the algorithm that was going to help you grow?
Yeah, so that's kind of like it's constantly fluctuating kind of a thing. I'm always trying different stuff out. When I first started the channel, it was very personal finance focused. And then I realized that no one wanted to watch someone with 100 subscribers talk about, what to do with your money or something. For some reason, there's no credibility there, so those didn't get much traction. So I started leaning on trying to take advantage of YouTube's greatest feature, which is the search engine. So I started working on search traffic, and I thought, what are things that I could actually get ranked for in search? What's something that people either aren't talking about or are doing not a great job of talking about? And a kind of parallel topic was bank accounts and brokerages and apps and stuff like that. So I started making bank review videos and things that was kind of parallel to personal finance. But I knew with my kind of background in creative work, I could probably do a better job than other people who are currently doing it, higher quality. And so I started doing those, and I started ranking. I started getting viewers and all that good stuff. And then it's just kind of been from there, iterating on the topics. But crypto is something I've been into longer than the channel, but it took me, I don't know, a year and a half to talk about it on the channel for the first time, because I was just honestly very afraid of talking about crypto on the YouTube channel because I know how cyclical crypto is, and I knew that one day I could enjoy all the bounties of talking about crypto when it's hot, but one day it would cease being a hot topic, and no one would want to watch the videos anymore. And sure enough, that is what happened. I have to shift a little bit in what I talk about, not making every single video a crypto video.
Mhm.
But I don't know. That's kind of the fun of it. You get to see the changing landscape. You get to adapt, and then see what works and what doesn't.
I mean, adaptation is, naturally key in this space. Anybody that isn't prepared to adapt and perhaps move in a different path, especially when it comes to creating content on YouTube, is probably going to fail very quickly unless they fit into a very tiny niche and they're particularly popular. You mentioned you were afraid to talk on video. How long were you kind of toying with the idea of making a YouTube video before you took the plunge? And what did that feel like? That first video going out, that first time that it's uploaded, and you kind of you throw it out there to the wolves. How does that feel for that first moment for you?
Yeah, so my first YouTube channel started in 2015, and that was kind of a cinema channel. I did a lot of things with my voice, but I never showed my face. That channel did really, really well, and that one has like, I don't know, 80 million views or something like that, 150,000 subscribers. So that one was, by a lot of accounts, successful, but I'd never showed my face, and it wasn't a moneymaker, which was the big thing. I was not super happy about that channel. So I did have some experience before I started this channel, so it wasn't completely starting from zero, from scratch. But it was the first time I was kind of putting myself out there personality-wise, and that was, I mean, it's scary. I think there's very few people who are not scared by that prospect, putting yourself in front of the camera, having other people see you and judge you, based on what you say and do and how you look and all that good stuff. But honestly, I just wanted the end result so badly that all that took such a back seat. I like the idea of the YouTube, business and career. I like talking about these things already. I'm already a passionate, person about a lot of these topics, and I'm happy to talk about these topics to anyone in person. So why not put it on video as well? But there still was the uncomfortability, but I just wanted that stuff so bad that took a back seat, and I just said, okay, who cares? Put it out there. I'll receive the hate, and I'll just see if I can grin and bear it. And thankfully, it's mostly been positive. And you do get better if you persist at it and you stop being so awkward and stiff in front of the camera. And that's just part of the process, I guess.
You say you take the hate. One of the things that we pride ourselves on doing here is kind of asking tough questions. So naturally, one of my first things to do was just have a bit of a snoop around and see if I could find much negative on you. Not because I was going to probe just the negative, but I was curious to see what kind of feedback you were getting. And I got to say, in all of the places that I looked, or some of the questions that I asked, I've only seen two people give kind of mildly negative, not even kind of aggressive, but mildly negative feedback. And actually not really aimed at yourself so much as it is using you as an outlet for their anger for something that might have failed elsewhere. I mean, what was the feedback? Was there any negative feedback, or was it, like you say, I think it was mostly positive? And how do you think you maintain that positivity?
Yeah, I mean, well, there's different levels there's hate. There's just blind, senseless, like there's no rhyme or reason kind of stuff. Like YouTube is just kind of a cesspool when it comes to the comments sometimes. Same with it's even worse on TikTok, I think, in the comments. But people they see the decisions you make, the things you do with your money, and that's just the most asinine, stupid thing they can possibly imagine. So they attack you based on that, whether or not you've had success. The way you say things, how what you talk about, the way you choose to present yourself, any number of things, petty things, hate will come in that capacity. And that stuff does ring loudly because we don't want to be criticized publicly. So there is that aspect, and I guess that's just the longer you do it, the more you can stomach that type of stuff. But then there is, of course, I mean, the aspect of given what I talk about or what I have talked about, crypto. Obviously, it's a space filled with not just failures, but also outright scams and things like that. So inevitably, no matter who you are in the space, you're going to come across something. If you talk about all the stuff you actually get into yourself, you're going to talk about something that inevitably fails, ends up being a scam, has some kind of scandal, any of those types of things. and you're going to receive a lot of backlash based on that. People who outright blame you. You spoke about something, therefore you are to blame for the money I chose to, of my own volition, invest. And there is some shared blame that I think people like me are responsible for. We chose to give it a platform, but at the same time, you had to be a reasonable person on the other end, and unfortunately, a lot of people aren't. And that, you can't know. It's unknowable. It's like FTX. Thankfully, I never took any money or did promotional stuff for something like FTX. But a lot of big creators did, and they received tons of hate after the fact. And everyone seemed to think, you should have known. Of course, you should have looked into this. You should have researched it ahead of time. But, even some of the biggest hedges in the world and institutions in the world, like BlackRock, were, investing in, FTX and didn't see things like that coming. So there's just an element to it where you just have to take it in stride and just know that they're understandably angry. It's unfortunate, when stuff fails and people lose money. And hopefully when you talk about something like that, you do it in an ethical and reasonable way. But at some point, there's going to be unreasonable responses to it. And you just have to learn how to take that and not let it just ruin your day or your life and stuff like that. But, also be self-aware that if there was times when you talked about stuff or did things maybe you shouldn't have, that maybe there was fault on your part, and to do better the next time.
I like how you speak about personal responsibility and, perhaps accepting that some of responsibility is a strong word. And I'm struggling for the right one now. But, there is an element of people looking to you for guidance, I suppose. And whether they choose to do the sufficient amount of due diligence to make a wise decision is entirely down to them. And a lot of investors don't take their own personal responsibility for not doing that. They'll click on a link, they'll watch a clip that might be 10 minutes or 20 minutes, and they'll decide to jump in with both feet. And that is one of the things that I imagine you have to very much juggle, especially as a content creator. Certainly in this space, it's something that we're acutely aware of. On the flip side, though, in those early days when you might have been getting some negative feedback, was there any one particular comment that was positive that stood out in your mind that, kind of gave you a bit of an extra push or a driving force to really keep going?
I don't know if there's a specific one, but there definitely was lots of early people who, I've certainly in the early days, I've seen people who were like, you're gonna, your channel's gonna blow up, your video quality is so awesome. Whether or not they actually believe that, maybe they're just saying it because they're being nice. I don't know. But that stuff, that stuff matters for someone who's being vulnerable and putting themselves out there and trying to create this stuff. And in a video, I don't know how, on average what I spend, but they're easily, 5, 10, 20 plus hours that go into each video. And we spend all this time and we put it out there for the world, and it's very easy for the world to, tear that up and throw it back at you. So when you do get those little blips of, positivity and stuff, that is very nice to help you keep going. I would say if I hadn't received any of that, if it had been only just people who, when you make fun of you or something, which is a big part of the internet, unfortunately, I don't know, would I've continued going if I didn't have any positive reinforcement? That's a good question. But yeah, there's definitely some of the early stuff, and I am grateful for it.
They weren't wrong. Anybody that said that your channel was going to blow up got it absolutely spot on. They obviously noticed something in what you were doing that they liked, and so have 91,500 other people, right? And climbing. Do you think it's video quality?
I appreciate that.
Well, it's all of your hard work. It's just honest observation. You're telling us you put 20 hours into creating a video. That's no joke. That's a lot of your time creating something that you care about, and it's nice, obviously, when people start to recognize that, and rightly so. Video quality, a lot of it maybe comes down to that. Were you aware of that when you jumped into this? Because from what I can tell, your video quality has always been very high. Your thumbnails have slowly started to progress as well. It's all very easy on the eye, and I suppose it ensures that people continue to want to become engaged with you. And you're very clever at making sure that your videos are of perhaps a certain length, with the odd exception, I guess, in order to ensure people's train of thought don't kind of dive off and they get all of the information in a bite-sized chunk that's digestible.
Yeah, that was a very nice way to talk about my thumbnails. I would say they used to look awful, and they've gotten progressively better as I've actually hired people to do them for me instead of me doing them myself, because I'm not a graphic designer. But yeah, with the actual video quality of the videos themselves, I mean, I have a background in creative stuff. I have a background in photography and videography, and so that is something that's been important to me from the beginning, and I've still gotten way better since the beginning. But it's also definitely a differentiator because, again, in a lot of the finance space. And a lot of the crypto space, especially video and editing quality, for example, production quality is not a priority for most creators. And that's fine. It's it can or cannot matter. I've seen lots of creators who never show their face. It's just screen capture. It's just their voice, and they are bigger than I am. But I've also seen lots who don't put a priority on any of that stuff, and they never grow. For me, I knew it was an advantage because I knew I had to do it. So I figured, why wouldn't I use that to my advantage and try to make up for some of my other shortcomings? And so I went hard on the video quality and the editing and stuff like that from the get-go because I wanted to stand out in that way. But yeah, I know it's one of those things that I just continually assess and see what's actually worth it in terms of the trade-off of putting time and effort into it, and what actually is noticeable to the average person who is watching. And there is some level there that there's diminishing returns, but I try to balance that as best I can. While also having, it's fun. I enjoy the whole production angle, so I try to have fun with it too.
Right. Yeah, you can tell that you have fun with it too, and that's the nice part about watching you, is when you're watching someone who truly appears to enjoy what they're doing. Seldom have I seen a video that you don't have a smile on your face and you're not enjoying the topic of conversation that you're giving out to the people that are watching, and that must be a big part of it. You've mentioned a couple of times, some of these content creators that are bigger than you. A lot of the time, a large portion choose to be polarizing, so they'll go after someone quite hard, or they'll go after a particular project, or interspersed with some of the advices that they're giving, you'll find that they are being negative about something. Have you ever thought about going in that direction, given the vast amount of knowledge you must now have on this space? And I'm sure you see projects out there, or you see things that are coming out that inevitably are probably going to fail. You recognize it. Were you ever tempted to kind of put a video out there that is going after them a little bit to rake some more of those viewers that like that content?
I've never been tempted to do it for the sake of content to get clicks. That's been a pretty big part of my mantra from the beginning, is not doing stuff like that. If I were to ever do that, and I have done things that are maybe close to that, compared to people who actually attack people or project things, my attempts would be a very soft approach. I'm not too big in the space of creating content online to bash other people. But if I was going to do that, it would be purely just to educate someone on something. So there has been a handful of projects over the past couple of years that I have made follow-up videos to, as things have developed, as it has failed. I know I made several videos educating people in the news around Celsius, Voyager, Hodlnaut, some of the yield-based accounts that were out there, telling people what I was doing, not saying these are scammy companies, they're going to take all your money, these people are monsters, whatever, even though maybe I should have, looking back on some of them. But we didn't know at the time. I just said, here's what I'm seeing, here's maybe some red flags. What I'm doing is I'm removing my money from these platforms. And thankfully, I did it before they collapsed. I didn't ever get one of them right. I still, was affected by a number of different things, but I have made content like that, as long as it's kind of in a more educational or news sense. But I've never dove any deeper than that into it, because I don't know. There's so much. I've watched so many creators come and go that their entire thing is they make videos attacking other creators or people, and it's a flash in a pan. Usually they have a lot of success, but for a short time, and then eventually they do something wrong and their entire audience turns on them, or they're just scummy people to begin with, and that all comes to light, or it's once it's over. But when you do that, you build this entire community and audience around you of just unhappy, negative people, and that's what they feed on. And so eventually they're going to turn on you, or something bad's going to happen. I don't know. It just seems like a bad way to do life and do business and do YouTube, when there's so much good stuff and so much fun you can have, and so much interesting stuff you can spend your time on, and also just not expend the mental energy with all that.
Right. Yeah. I was just going to say it would also be incredibly draining to constantly create content like that. It's an
Oh yeah.
admirable way of building your brand and building your channel. And although it may not necessarily boost you as quickly as you might like, because you're not going to get the people that like that kind of negative feedback. Certainly, when you, I imagine what you found is that as you are growing, your drop off rate must be very small as a result of that, because you're not necessarily aiming for people that just want that quick reaction on a particular topic. You're aiming for people that are coming to you for an educational bite-sized chunk that they can then jump into your space or email, sign up to your emails for kind of a more expanded view on. Would that be a fair assessment?
Yeah, I mean, as much as I can know that, I suppose. I mean, there's still lots of commenters I see on my videos that I've seen since, near the beginning, and especially over the past couple of years. So that's really great to see. Those people are still around, and I know that when I talk to, some other creators in the space who maybe went a little bit more off to that far side of things, and now looking back on that, in times when if you talk about financial topics, for example, when the economy and stuff are a little bit not so rosy, they actually, their channels are not growing anymore. They're actually losing subscribers, and I can thankfully and gratefully say that hasn't been the case either. So yeah, there's some signs like that for sure, as much as I can track that stuff, but I honestly don't know. It's hard for me to quantify something like that.
In terms of your financial background and the security that might have offered to give you the freedom to do what you're doing now within the space, and I'm not just talking about the videos that you create, but I'm also talking about the amount that you can spend in this space. How much of that was a factor? Because I know your content is very much telling people, look, you can have a passive income in this space, whether it be using AI, whether it be mining, whether it be finding the right project, or whatever it might be. The opportunities are out there for us to grab. But in terms of people jumping in feet first, is there a baseline that you would say people should be looking at having just to make sure that they're secure? And I'm sure it's going to be different for every individual. It depends if you have family, what your overheads are, how many people you might need to support. But how much of a factor was that for yourself?
I mean, when I started my financial journey, we were almost 6 figures in debt, and we had no investments, no savings, and not the greatest paying jobs. So, I've kind of started from scratch, more or less. I mean, everybody has different levels of what scratch actually is, but for me, that's where we started. And in less than a decade, in about 8 years, we went from that debt to our current status. And so, I think if I can do that, a lot of other people can too. Now, when it comes to, like the crypto journey and stuff like that, and then leaving the job and things like that, it was all baby steps. Leaving the job, it was once I had built a side income that was making at least as much as the job. And also once we had saved a certain amount of money in a savings account as kind of an emergency fund in case that, business I just started ended up not doing so hot, that I, wasn't going to be, kind of left for dead when it comes to money and stuff. So there's baby steps in that capacity. But also when I started with crypto, it's easy for people to watch, some of my videos over this past bull run and see, or watch, a video like I put out a month or two ago about, spending almost $100,000 on Bitcoin miners. And people to go, oh, well, that's unachievable. I can never do that. This is easy for people with money like you to say. But I didn't start there. When I started my crypto journey, I was, I don't know, investing $100 a month, just whatever I could scrape together. It started really modest. It's just I've had a lot of, I've had 6 years now under my belt on that part of the journey. And a lot of people just, I think, aren't able to be that patient, I guess, or aren't able to have that longer term mindset, or aren't just able to, take it little by little. So yeah, I mean, I think what I've done is achievable for for everybody around the planet. No, there's, certain countries and certain people in positions that probably couldn't do these things easily. I recognize stuff like that, but, people, I think there are a lot of people who are in similar situations to me that I think could do what I have done. But you just might have to be patient to actually accomplish it.
Yeah, patience is key. And you mentioned the miners. One of the pieces of information I think anybody who might look at that and say, well, 92,000 is an unobtainable amount to spend on miners. You DCA'd into them and bought your second batch at a far lower price than your first lot. And your aim is to ultimately sell them on to at least break even. So you've thought the process through. You bought what you were comfortable buying to begin with. You noticed an opportunity to buy them as the market started to come down, and you noticed an opportunity to sell them as the market's going to start to go up, and at least recoup that money back. And I think that's a mindset that perhaps is missing within this space.
Yeah, and also at the same time, I'm self-reflective and enough to go. I jumped into this thing. I did some research ahead of time. I had a plan, but at the same time, looking back and self-reflecting, go, oh, I made some mistakes. Let me share those in this video, and maybe other people won't make those same mistakes. And how can I do it, differently? So yeah, it's a very comprehensive process. You have to be kind of aware of with yourself, be self-aware enough to actually dive into.
Right. Everyone's always going to ask this kind of question. What's the worst decision you've ever made in this space?
In crypto specifically?
In crypto specifically. Let's narrow it down. What's the worst investment you've ever made? And you've really looked back at that and thought, I just got caught up in the moment, or I didn't do my research, whatever the reason might be. But that particular investment was not a smart move on my part. Yeah,
the worst dollar amount ones are mostly hypothetical in that I didn't sell at the time I should have. Well, how can you know? I could have had even more profit and stuff like that, or knowing about Bitcoin once upon a time, or knowing about mining Litecoin, in 2014. Those are multi-million-dollar mistakes technically, but if I'd actually bought Bitcoin in 2013, would I have held it this long, or would I have sold it as it approached $1,000 for the first time? It's impossible to know. In terms of mistakes I've made where I've actually lost money, I would say that probably one of the bigger ones was with the whole Luna collapse. Had $50,000 on Anchor protocol that went to zero. I've had similar other ones with some other, strong nodes. I don't know, it was like 20 grand. There's a number of ones that are, more than 10 grand that are just outright losses that I'll never see again.
Right. Yeah, I had a similar amount in Anchor Luna, and it haunts me to this day. What haunts me even more is that as it spiked back up to whatever it was, 88 cents or 90 cents, I was sitting at my computer deliberating as to whether or not I should sell, and I chose not to. And that's the bit that haunts me, the not just jumping out when things were going south and thinking that it was going to recover.
Well, you're not alone there, my friend. I did the exact same thing. I saw it go to like 78 cents, 82 cents. I'm like, I could sell it all right now and still get, 70 to 80% of my value, but no, it'll repeg, and then it never did.
Right. Yeah. I was very blasé about that. There's no way that this can crash. It's too big. Yep. Impossible. Yep. And lo and behold, it was disastrous, right?
Great lesson, though.
It was a great lesson. Yeah, absolutely. It will never happen again. In terms of DeFi, do you have thoughts, especially in this niche space, that what's the one thing that you believe is holding it back?
There's I guess different levels of the world of crypto, but if you specifically mean DeFi, it's like most people just aren't going to use DeFi as it currently stands. It's too difficult. It's far too niche. It's too enthusiast based right now. It's great for speculation. It's great for people who are probably listening to this right now. We're all nerdy enough to dig into this stuff and be able to use MetaMask and be able to use bridges and swaps and yield farming and these things like that. But average people, no way. It's going to have to be a really simple to use app on their phone where they're not even probably worried much about private keys or mnemonic phrases. So I don't know what the exact answer is, but we have we're still so incredibly early, even though most people think they're too late to crypto. It's still such bleeding edge stuff at this point that real adoption, we're still so far away from it. It just needs a lot of smoothing over, I think, generally.
Mm-hmm. And do you ever find yourself thinking about how you can play a part in that smoothing over, given the content that you're putting out? One of the things, for example, you mentioned that we're still very early in crypto. One of the things we're also extraordinarily early in, and one of the things that you cover and I'd love to talk about is AI. Do you think that is a direction perhaps that this space can go in, this use of AI to make passive income?
Yeah, I mean, so one, yeah, I think people like me with channels can definitely play a part in this, and I try to break things down in manageable bites where people can understand it for sure. And like when it comes to AI, that's even earlier than technology in terms of widespread usage than crypto. Maybe it's a bit faster in terms of actual people getting on board, just because people are building all these apps and software and stuff that's beautiful layers on top of this AI technology, making it really easy for the common person to use. And there's not as much of that that's at least catching on in the crypto space. So yeah, there's definitely some like lessons to learn from that, but also there's probably a million opportunities, and I try to pay attention to a bunch of them, but I'm probably still missing 99% of them because there's each month there's probably 1,000 new AI tools that are released, and each of them has their own opportunity and potential. And how do you stay on top of that unless you're living and breathing it every single day, and even then you're going to miss some stuff.
Right. How do you stay on top of it? Are you doing it on your own? Do you have a team behind you? Are there people researching in the background? I mean, for you in particular, as you say, it's such a broad environment with so many things coming out daily. It's almost impossible for a single person to keep on top of it. But is it just you as an individual, or do you have other people that are helping?
So for the YouTube business, I have a full-time video editor who also helps me with some of the ideation and stuff, but all the rest of it's me. Yep. So, I mean, I just nerd out and read the stuff all day long and try to make sense of it and try to write it into scripts and then try to make it into videos. More broadly, though, my other business that's kind of a spin-off of the YouTube business, which is my community, that one I do have people to kind of help, and that's in the form of moderators and stuff, but also in the terms of like doing some deep dives into specific cryptos and things like that. So I do try to lean on other people when I can, but no, in terms of what comes out of the YouTube channel, that's 90% as far as content itself, not the actual end product, is 90% me.
Right. And the community is it Triple Z? Is that the name of the community, I believe?
Yep. ZZZ Money Club, but we just call it Sleep Money Club.
Right. I'm also going to post your YouTube channel in the global chat. So for anybody that wants to take a look at your channel, I suggest they do, because you create some very interesting stuff. So people should jump in. When you started or thought about creating that community, was it that you had a bunch of like-minded people that all came together to say, right, we can actually provide some real value, and there's an opportunity to monetize that aspect of our brains and our knowledge, or was it just you yourself that went out first, decided to do it, and then other people came in and kind of followed you through the door?
So there's a lot of things. Earlier on, before I started Sleep Money Club, and I have a business partner, Colin. He goes under Decade Investor online. He's got a YouTube channel and a Twitter account. Before the two of us started it, earlier on, before that happened, from the channel, I was offering a link so you could book time with me, because I had so many requests for people that wanted to like book 30 minutes with me or an hour with me and stuff. And that was kind of fun for a while, but then it just ate up, all of this time of mine. And so, and doing other things where I had done some like I've been doing live streams on my channel, and during like peak crazy crypto season, it's like it was impossible. Like absolutely impossible to read every single comment flowing in that chat. I don't know how actually big people in the space do it, because it was overwhelming for me. So there's lots of things like that said, okay, some people want to interact with me in some capacity. We want to chat, like hang out in the community kind of a thing. But the ways I'm doing it right now are not sustainable for me and my time. So, how can I fix that? And I didn't know the answer. But then me and my business partner now, Colin, were at a finance conference, and there was a presentation about building, private paid communities, and I talked all about it. I'm like, oh, this is not only a cool business opportunity, but it solves like all my problems when it comes to interacting with people and stuff. Putting a paywall there, means that only the serious people will come in. It reduces all the scammers and spammers and hate and stuff like that. and it's kind of a cool business idea, whatever. But then you can kind of see where that possibilities and those opportunities lead. And now we found a bunch of cool people, and it's a really fun, tight knit community. We talk about crypto projects and what we're mining and stocks and all kinds of stuff like that. And it's turned out to be this kind of cool side business, but also this great group of people that I'm glad I somehow found.
Right. Nice. It's nice when those kind of things, you stumble upon those kind of things, and to have a nice, healthy environment that can reduce the amount of disgruntled customers, for lack of a better word, that you're going to get. It is probably also healthy for your ability to keep going and keep doing what you're doing. Have there been any major success stories coming out of your community? Maybe someone that stumbled on one of your or many of your pieces of content, decided to join, and has really flourished as a result?
Oh yeah, we have tons. Yeah, I mean, when it comes to the mining and stuff, we have quite a few people who've. I'm a long time speculative miner, so I've never done, with the exception of a few things, I've never done much in the way of crypto mining just for daily profit. It's always been what's the price of this going to be in a year or two, or it doesn't even have a price today. Excuse me. So I'm going to mine it and then wait till it gets listed on exchange and then see what it's worth. So I do a lot of that, and so I share all that stuff in Sleep Money Club, and people kind of join with me in doing that. And we've had quite a few people who've spent $500 to $1,000 on electricity for mining a thing, and then it turned out to be $5,000 to $10,000 worth of crypto when they sold it. So there's been lots of fun stuff like that, or in the in the world of stock options, which has become a kind of a really big part of Sleep Money Club, which we didn't plan on from the beginning. We have lots of people who started with very modest accounts selling stock options, and now they're making hundreds, thousands, or even tens of thousands of dollars every month. Our stock options team, which is all the people who are members of our club who just happen to do stock options with us, the team made $121,000 or something in profit last month. So yeah, it's very cool because this stuff started from zero. Nobody was in there, and we hardly had any members. We kind of slowly built it over time, and now people are making real serious money and all kinds of cool stuff like that. So yeah, it's really fun to see people grow in those ways.
And I guess the biggest strength that you have in an environment like that is the supportiveness of it, right? Is that people can throw questions out there if they're worried about something. They can kind of springboard, use you as a springboard for ideas, and people can chew through the fat of what might be a good and what might be a bad idea.
Oh yeah, you go into any you go into so many discords, especially a specific crypto project discord, and you don't understand something about that crypto project, or you have a concern. So you ask what you think is a very reasonable question about, this thing. Well, what do you guys think about this? Or what would happen in this event, etc. You're probably, and there's plenty of exceptions, plenty of ones that are just overwhelmingly positive, but there's lots where there's a lot of people in there who would just jump down your throat immediately and what a stupid question, how, why this is FUD, whatever. So one of the things that we kind of built into Sleep Money Club was there are no dumb questions. You just say what you think. We can all be happy and positive about this. It's a safe place to talk about all these things. And I've really enjoyed kind of cutting that aspect of the whole process out.
Yeah, I hear exactly what you're saying. It was the exact catalyst for us creating this space. Actually, was just the shutting down of a question that you might have heard for the 10,000th time, but it's someone else's first time of asking it, and the speed by which it would just be thrown to the side as FUD, as you say, or a stupid question, or somebody deliberately trying to bring the protocol down. It just seemed particularly counterproductive to A, getting more interest in, and B, really growing someone's understanding so that the protocol project, whatever it might be, can get stronger. And we kind of got so fed up in one particular project that we decided we were going to create this space for that very reason.
Yeah, that's super cool.
AI, how untapped is it really, do you think, in terms of, where people can make money? Is there anything, you're always, I'm sure, looking at new things. Is there anything in particular that is lurking in the background that you're very excited about, that you've not yet spoken on, but you're kind of dabbling in?
AI space at large is incredibly untapped. if you talk to most people, you'd be led to believe that it's super tapped out, it's super saturated at this point. There's nothing left here, or even worse, that it's a fad and it's just the hottest thing at the moment. And that just I can't believe people have that mindset. It's just like, once upon a time there's crackpot people who had the same ideas about the internet, and now look at where we are decades later. It's just we're at the AI is the worst it will ever be right now, and it's not going anywhere anytime soon. So like either get on board or get left behind. Same with crypto. So yeah, that kind of thoughts are kind of wild to me, but people do have that. So I think that the fact that there is still a lot of that kind of chatter out there in the world about it tells me that it's a very early space still, and also just seeing the potential of it and seeing what we currently have in terms of tools and applications, it's very clear to me that it's super early. In terms of like what the opportunities are, I mean, I don't know. I'm fascinated with the content aspect of it. There's a million different ways you can take content and monetize it on the internet right now, and now we have a bunch of tools that will let you create unlimited content with almost no effort on your part. And yeah, there is definitely a level of people don't want to pay for low quality stuff, but it's one of those things where if you spend the time to learn how to use a tool with not much more effort, you can get it to where it's not just the lowest common denominator type of quality, and actually get legit stuff out of it. I mean, I use ChatGPT, for example, to write entire sections of my scripts. I rework it a little bit, but it's able to explain things in ways that I hadn't considered. Or Twitter threads, things like that. I've written with AI, and that's just one of the multitude of examples. Like, it's unfathomable how many different like varieties of things you can produce with it. And so I'm just kind of fascinated with that aspect of it. And then yeah, there's ways you can turn the art into money on Etsy or wherever, or you can actually learn to be really good at AI prompts and then sell your prompts and then make videos about that and have people in your comments say, oh, no one's going to pay for a prompt, but there are people paying for prompts out there. So there's just these wild opportunities that people, and rightfully so, because it sounds a little bit crazy, but think to dismiss, but are actually real things you can make money with right now if you're willing to kind of put in the time and effort and figure it out, which is the kind of crux of it all, like crypto or like the internet once upon a time or anything like this.
It takes work. It's the main thing is if you want to jump into this, it takes work. But I think you summed it up perfectly when you said AI is the worst it's ever going to be. I think that's a very clever angle to look at it, because it is not going to go anywhere. It's clearly where we're progressing to, and it's going to start to take over in very many aspects. It already has, but even further in very many aspects of our lives. And if you look at it as being the worst it'll ever be, and you get into it early enough, it just means that as it progresses, you're going to progress with it. And your growth can go with AI as better things start to come out. And, it might take a little bit of time, 3 months, 6 months, 2 years, whatever it might be. But at the end of the rainbow, there may well be a pot of gold if you play your cards right.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I understand too the angle that it's a little bit scary and stuff like that, but there's just so many incredible possibilities here, and we've barely scratched the surface. I mean, look at like medical applications. It's impossible for a single doctor to know every in and out of every single disease or symptom or various things like that. But it's not impossible for an AI to know that. And so like we're going to have all these applications in the future, these repositories of incredibly intelligent knowledge that are able to navigate stuff that humans just couldn't on their own, maybe collectively over enough time, but the software, this new technology will be able to do it in milliseconds, and it's going to be pretty amazing.
Right. Yes, I agree. You mentioned that it became impossible to kind of answer all of the comments and all of the chats. Have you ever considered, be it a content creator, be it somebody who wants to invest, taking someone under your wing for a meaningful amount of time and really giving them that one-on-one time that's going to help them catapult to the next stage, just to see whether or not you can do it, and what the response from them would be, and how that might grow the brand out for yourself? Maybe you already do it.
No, I've never really done any like one-on-one coaching other than letting someone book 30 minutes or an hour of my time at a time, but never anything longer term. than that. People ask me about that, and I don't know. The jury's still out on that one. A little bit of it is like, I mean, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm a guy on the internet who's just done what works for me, and it's happened to all work out. But that doesn't mean, if you ask me, 10 different questions every single week, my answers are actually going to, be successful in your life. So there's a little bit of like, worry about doing something like that because of that angle. Like, I think lots of things that my experience and lots of decisions I've made and lots of things I had to say could make people a lot of money and good decisions. But I'm hesitant to do something like that because I want someone to really filter it through their own eyes and brain and see, how to take what they're hearing from me and hopefully some, other people on YouTube, other people online who know a little bit of what they're talking about, and then filter all of that through and then parse out what is the best application of that information for them in their life. So I guess you can do that with coaching. I don't know. It's just a sticky subject, and that's a lot of responsibility for one person over another person. But yeah, maybe to have a really rational, reasonable person who would be able to filter everything and do its best. But I don't know. Haven't explored it.
It's the reason I ask is it's one of the thought processes I've been having recently is that there's this real opportunity for content, and I understand the pushback that you give me in terms of why you perhaps wouldn't want to go down that road. But there's a real opportunity for, in particular, content creators to guide other content creators and how they can perhaps improve their brand, what it is that you did that's so successful. Because I'm sure you'll agree, there will come a point when your growth is so big on YouTube and when so many people are following you that your voice is absolutely going to matter, right? It becomes an inevitability almost, that no matter how much you might buck or want to buck that trend and really push people to do their own due diligence, the scales kind of tip towards right now. There's a real level of responsibility, especially in the way that you go about wanting to educate people. And that's ultimately what you do, is educate through these videos that you put out, and then they can come into your space that is behind a paywall if they want to pay to kind of really pick at what you guys are doing. But I just wonder if there's ever going to be scope for a bunch of content creators that are doing particularly well to maybe pit their skills against one another in a kind of fun environment to see how far they can help drive an individual.
Yeah, it's interesting idea, and I definitely enjoy the pitting myself against other aspect, in a friendly way when it comes to my own personal growth and progression and success. I talk with lots of other YouTubers and lots of other people who are in crypto and investing space and stuff like that. And, if someone's doing a lot better than me, I ask them lots of questions and try to figure out, what they're doing that I'm not and try to improve my own self and vice versa. So I definitely enjoy what you're talking about in that aspect. It's just the idea of bringing someone else along with me to do that I haven't really given too much thought about.
That's fair enough. In terms of friendly rivalry, who is in your crosshairs at the moment?
I don't know that I can even say I have friendly rivalries with anybody. It's mostly just other creators who I just talk to, and when they're doing well, I like to see it. But I talked once a month. I don't know if you're familiar with Chris McCauley on
yes,
YouTube. He's over 100,000 now, so I talk to him once a month with a couple other YouTubers, and so we're always kind of exchanging ideas and thoughts, and he's just killing it. I have someone on the podcast coming on the podcast in a couple weeks who's in a very different space than me, named Daniel Braun, and his channel is slightly bigger than mine. He talks about credit cards and points and stuff, and his growth is, he actually started 6 months after me, and he's actually already surpassed me in views and subscribers and stuff. So that's it's cool to see how much he's grown, but also get some ideas for myself selfishly.
Nice.
To see how I can glean some of the magic he's doing. So it's people like that, I talk to. I talk to my friend Nicholas from Space Design Warehouse almost daily, and we exchange ideas about YouTube and stuff like that. So rivalry would be a big stretch, but definitely people I talk to on the regular about this stuff.
Right. Okay. So people that you kind of tap into for their for their ideas and expertise. And that's just a smart way of doing it. I think there's not enough of that happens within this space. I think we are inclined to want to pit ourselves against one another, depending on where we've come from or how we found a certain space or project, wherever we like to spend our time. And I think that's one of the fundamental problems. I don't think there are enough circles of people that talk to share, not just to complain, but to actually share ideas and share thoughts. I think that should happen more often.
I mean, it's the same with investing or starting a business. It is very much kind of an abundance mindset versus a mindset seeing there's not a whole lot out there. The pie is very small, and YouTube is huge. The amount, if you wrap your head around just how much content is uploaded to YouTube every day, and how much is watched and how many viewers are there, it's like, why would I view these people as my competitors and not share, and keep secrets from them? There is plenty of pie for all of us in this space or in the investing space or in the business world. And now maybe if you're a business and you're trying to like raise, rounds of funding and you have a direct, almost exact competitor, maybe you don't share your deepest, darkest business secrets. I don't know. But when it comes to YouTube, I haven't really experienced that yet. And I think it's a lot more fun when you bring people with you.
I agree. And I also think people overlook the fact that more often than not, people are happy to answer questions if you reach out in the right way. I mean, just setting up this particular conversation, I have to say it was very easy. It was me sending one cheeky response to a tweet of yours, and you outright said, ask the question. So I did, and here you are having a conversation. Now, I'm not suggesting everybody listening now do exactly the same thing, because then that will be an overload of conversations that you might have to go into. But it
revealed the secrets.
I did, yeah. It was that easier process, and I think if more people tried to adopt that mindset of, well, if you don't ask, A, you don't get, and B, sometimes asking is enough, and people will be willing to share thoughts with you that might be able to help you along. A question I have for you is affiliate links. How important are they to what it is that you're doing? Because one of the observations I have is that you're very clever and non-intrusive about any affiliate links that you might have. The way you filter it into your videos is smart. It is natural, which is not often the case with a lot of content creators. It's, of course, a way that you're going to be able to monetize the video that you're doing, and you're going to be able to cover your bases for the project that you might be covering or whatever it is that you're talking about. Was that do you put a real conscious effort into how you filter it in? And the second question to that is, how strict are you when people come to you and say, we'd really like you to back this? Are you prepared to talk about it?
Yeah, so affiliate marketing, affiliate links, referral links, they are almost always, there's been a few exceptions over the past 3 years, but they're almost always my number one revenue source. They're my biggest moneymaker by a pretty big margin. And then when it comes to like how I choose who I work with and stuff, I imagine people that are even a tenth my size of YouTube channel get inundated with emails every day. I can't imagine what it's like to have like 1 million subscribers, how many emails you get every single day from companies and crypto things and people just wanting to, give you money, give you products, or give you affiliate links and have you promote their thing for them. It's overwhelming. And unfortunately, I don't respond to like 99% of them, even when they send me multiple follow-ups. And I could probably get better at that. But it's just so much. And if I do reply, it's just because I've looked at their thing and I see actual potential there for what I talk about, or I like what they're talking about a lot, or I already use and like the thing, and it makes sense. So those are usually the only partnerships I say yes to. But a lot of my affiliate kind of partners that I make most of my money with, I've been working with for multiple years now.
Right. And what would you say to somebody who might be perhaps sitting on the fence about using or putting their name to an affiliate link because of the optics of that step? And that's quite a selfish question in terms of our space. One of the things that we've been very strong on not doing is putting our name to anything. And to an extent, I think that's one of our biggest strengths. But also, I think it's one of our biggest weaknesses, because in not doing so, we're missing out on opportunities to make money. So what do you say to someone or a space like us that is sitting on that fence and doesn't quite know whether or not they should kind of double down on their current approach, or maybe start to branch out a little bit and not be afraid to perhaps put that opinion to a product?
Yeah. So, I think if you're putting value out and you're building something and you're spending a lot of time on it, you deserve to make money for that thing. And so you should be evaluating all the different ways for you to monetize that thing, because your time should be worth money. And maybe affiliates is one of the ways you do that, because there's a natural fit there, or you're particularly amped up about specific companies or something like that, and that seems to be a good fit. Now, the hesitation aspect, I totally understand, because I've said yes to a handful of sponsorships over the years, and that where a few that were from cryptos that failed or ended up, devs running away with money and stuff like that. And so, I was very slow to get into that. And then I was reminded quickly why I was slow to get into it in the first place. And I kind of, as soon as those things happened, I just said no to all that across the board, carte blanche. All my current affiliates, and even before that kind of area, none of it was like investment type stuff. It's all actual physical products. It's companies that don't sell you an investable thing. It's stuff like that. So that part is scary, because you put your name on something, they run with the money. You are on the hook to some degree of responsibility for at least, talking about it. But at the same time, how can you know? And as long as you are in your partnership with a company, if they are an investable thing, you say, in your contract that you're allowed to kind of talk about the risks openly with doing this, then I think you can still say yes to something like that, and have a reasonable conversation around it with people and explain, your position, why you like it, why you like them, but also being really upfront about the things you don't like about it, and the potential risks. So I maybe will be saying yes to, some of those things again when it's stuff I really, really align with. But I'm extremely slow whenever money is involved. I'm a lot quicker when it's like a business bank account that I really like and use every day and been using for a year plus. That's an easy one for me to say yes to an affiliate and even a full-on sponsorship from. But when it comes to like a crypto project and they want me to talk about it and so people can invest in it, that I'm ultra slow on these days. And actually I haven't said yes to in more than 6 months or 9 months at this point.
Right, really, as long as that. I think that would be something people will be interested to hear, actually. And like you say, I guess it's also about, and like we covered a little bit earlier, having the gumption to then, if things go south, own it a tiny bit and say, produce maybe a bit of content, or come out and say, well, it went south and this is perhaps the reasons why it went south. And yes, at some point I thought it was going to go well and it didn't. And you just have to hold your hands up at some point and say, that isn't, I could never have known. You've said it a couple of times. How can you know? I did my due diligence. This is why I felt it was going to be successful. Unfortunately, it wasn't.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, man. And unfortunately, I've had to make a couple of those videos and, learned lessons along the way, understood things a bit better. And, very grateful that there's lots of people who watched those and understood my position, their position in it, the company or product or whatever, their role in the whole thing, and looked at it pretty reasonably. But of course, you're going to have people who don't, and
yes,
just that's life, and you move past it hopefully, and try to do better.
And there's a ton of strength in releasing those videos. So it's unfortunate that something goes south. Nobody ever wants anybody to lose money. But, the flip side of the coin and the strength is when you do and have released those videos, that is a form of ownership that not a lot of people do, or it takes them a long time to do it. And I think that's where a lot of content creators in particular can become unstuck. It's about that, taking that ownership. And I just think there's strength in the fact that you've released a couple of those. And I think that's why people keep coming back to your content. I'm aware that I've had you now for just over an hour, so I won't keep you for much longer. one of the last questions I had is there anything that you're currently dabbling in, playing with, that is out there, but you can't wrap your mind around why people or why more people aren't tuning into it?
I mean, mainly I have to go back to the AI stuff. I feel like a lot of people right now are interested in the novelty of it, but that's about as far as they get. So I think more people would be better served to do some deeper digging and also just learn what is currently out there, the current tools. And when I say learn, I mean, there's an art. At this point, I think it's maybe a good combination of art and science when it comes to getting the results you want out of some of these tools. Anyone can type into Midjourney or ChatGPT some generic prompt and get out, some result. But there will be a need and a market for people who are able to put specific instructions into these things, or better yet, learn some code to be able to build their own tools on top of these existing tools and technologies to then get very specific things out of it. And you will have companies that want to hire you or can have you consult for them to get specific results out of these tools that other people, most mainstream people, just can't. This is something I'm endlessly fascinated by, but also feel like is a big opportunity. And it's just like everything else in all of technology. When it comes to coding and building software, there's some tools you can go and click a few buttons and it makes, spits out an iPhone app for you, but it's going to be terrible. The money goes to the people who learned how to actually write code and build a thing
Right.
for people. So if you can be that, couple steps above the rest who are just interested in the pure novelty of it, then I think there's some real opportunity there. And of course, there's a whole spectrum of those things across probably crypto as well. But that's where I think the real money will be in the future.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think people that are brave enough to just take that step and trust the process of learning, the more you learn about these things, the better you're going to get. And it is time dependent. Of course, the more time you put in, the better you'll get. But also, everyone's going to work at a slightly different pace. So if you see somebody that's surpassing you very, very quickly, it doesn't necessarily mean you're not going to catch up. It just means you're not there yet. And if you continue to grind and put the time in, eventually you should get there. And that's if you put a meaningful amount of time in and you're really paying attention to what you're doing. I don't think people can do this on a whim. And certainly, it can't be something that they don't dedicate actual time to, I think. I only have a couple more questions. One of them is, what is your, and this is actually one of the listeners that's asked this, what is your least favorite thing about this space and the job that you're doing in it?
Crypto space or YouTube space?
Either.
Crypto space, we kind of talked about it a little bit. One of my least favorite things is this, the uglier side of it, which usually manifests itself in the form of tribalism. My thing is better than your thing, and your thing sucks, and you're a bad person, and here's all the reasons why. For the space to succeed, we need to have less of that, and more of us just all open-mindedly trying to build better things or whatever. When it comes to everybody's favorite passive income thing, this or that, people just get so siloed and tribalistic. But also the flip side of that is, even if they're not negative about it or particularly tribalistic about it, people do get kind of entrenched within their favorite things, and they become blind to certain realities. People will just stay on that sinking ship longer than they should. I have plenty of things in the crypto space that I'm a big fan of, that I love. There's projects that I'm a fan of, but my loyalty only goes so far. The moment their founders start saying stupid things, doing bad stuff, that may make a change that I think is a terrible decision, my alliance there is done. I think more people, that's not being a flip-flop or anything like that. I think more people should be more realistic in this space and see it for what it is, and that it's super early, and 95% or more of all the things we currently know and love in crypto will probably not exist in the next 5, 10, or 20 years. So view these things as opportunities, but don't get so narrow focus on it that you can't see the forest for the trees. You're gonna get lost, and you're gonna lose all your money in a certain thing, or go down with that sinking ship. With YouTube, I don't know. I think my least favorite thing in that space is that it's still maybe not considered a very serious thing. It's not a real job. Just being a YouTuber, you just talk in front of the camera and there's nothing to it. But I put, people like me who do a channel like this, we put in heaps of work and effort, and we take a lot of pride in it. And one day I assume, like a lot of other things, will be fully legitimized and people will see it for what it is. It's a full-on career or business opportunity.
Well said, and I agree with all of the points you just made. And people don't necessarily appreciate, even for a simple conversation like this, the amount of research that might go into it in the background just to be able to have a coherent chat, let alone creating content, and content that's A, worth watching, and B, is of a high quality, which yours is. My last question, what is next for Andy that scares him? Is there anything that you're building up to doing that's going to be the next step for you? So, we've had the YouTube, you've put the channel out, you had that moment of fear of putting your face on camera. Is there something else that you're working towards now that seems scary at the minute, but you're kind of persevering with it because you're excited to see how it might pan out?
So in terms of the content company and stuff like that, I am working on launching a couple more channels potentially, and so that's always a little bit scary to put a lot of effort and time into it, put your name on it and put your face in front of it, and then launch it, and then what if it fails? So there's that aspect. And then just in my normal life of being someone who's trying to build wealth and income and have a happier life, one day, I'm putting lots of my eggs in a single basket. I do invest in lots of boring, quote unquote, safe things, but I have a lot of my net worth in this world of crypto, and I'm gung ho about it. I believe in it. I believe, through all the things I've learned and researched, that this is a place to be as an asymmetric bet, but it's still scary. Things can change. The landscape can change. Every country on earth can decide to ban it or decide it's not for them. It's all centralized, state or country currencies or something, and then this space dwindles, and then so does this wealth I've been trying to build in this space with it. So that there is a fear when it comes to being in an emerging technology or in a new kind of emerging asset class, and being pretty heavily allocated to it. But I'm confident in the skills I've built that, if it all goes to zero, I can rebuild and start somewhere else again. But there's that undercurrent of fear with new things and putting a lot of your money where your mouth is.
But I think you have a healthy outlook on it, and you're going from strength to strength, and I think anybody that watches your content is going to see why. Andy, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for your time. It's been a fascinating conversation for me to have with you, and I really appreciate that you took an hour and 15 minutes out of your time to come and chat to us.
Oh yeah, this was fun. Thank you very much for having me. Thank you for everybody who has listened, and especially if you've still been listening from the beginning. And I very much appreciate you bringing me into your community. It was very kind of you.
It's been our pleasure. I've thrown your YouTube links and Sleep Money Cub into the stage chat. So anybody that wants to take a look, jump in, subscribe, like, etc., because it helps the algorithm, of course. And on this particular occasion, I will say I think it's worth it. So definitely go and take a look. Andy, thank you so much. I appreciate you, and hopefully one day we can have this chat again.
Yeah, would love to. Thanks again.
All right, take care.